Hi Shreya, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank
And
you.
yeah, so could you start with your introduction? What do you do?
Sure. So thank you for having me. And firstly, so I have been in the IT domain for past 4 years, and I have completed my MBA in the year 2020. Like MBA into IT, and my specialization was into data warehousing and BI, business intelligence. And after that, I completed my MBA and I started with a service-based company known as Mobiquity Softech. Currently, right now, it is a part of Hexaware, and I was working there for approximately 2.4 years. And I started as a research analyst. And so I was working under multiple domains. I got a chance to work in multiple domains like banking, insurance, supply chain, logistics, and QSR related restaurants kind of things. And I created a kind of reports for them, and that reports went to sales and marketing domain. And also I created several dashboards onto it, and I was majorly working on app store and play store reviews, where we used to create like kind of like analytics kind of thing, where we used to do some like prior and post we used to do that how app is performing before 6 months, and after introducing new feature, how the app is performing. So we used to gather the data from Play Store and App Store, and we used to create reports. So in there, I used to use tech stack related to Python, SQL, not SQL mostly, but mostly Python, and developing dashboards onto Data Studio. And after that, I created dashboards on Power BI. And also at that point, they were also trying to work on Tableau as well, but I was majorly working on Power BI and Data Studio. After that, I got multiple like projects work within Mobiquity, where we were working on crash analytics report, where how the app is performing. We used to gather that data, performance related data, and used to migrate that data to BigQuery. So after that, I got a chance that how the data engineering and how these things get into the picture and everything. And so firstly, I worked with that, and I used to do some querying. At that moment only, I started working with SQL and this kind of things, and build dashboards again on Power BI, and as well as on Data Studio as well. And at that moment, I gained that experience that okay, right now it is a good time to switch to a data engineering domain, which is right now an emerging domain. And I started with data engineering, and in the like in the last 4 months, I started my preparation related to it, because I was working with BigQuery and this kind of tech stack on GCP. It was a good edge over that okay, I can work with data engineering related to BigQuery. There are a couple of tools known as Cloud Composer and everything, but I was majorly working with BigQuery. So that was my edge over kind of thing to okay to go with big to data engineering. And Python, I was working priorly for scraping the data and building some reports onto it. So yeah, preparing the data and working building dashboards onto it. So I started with that, and I got an opportunity with I cracked offers related to Accenture. I also got an opportunity to crack with EY, and which is one of the big four companies, and also EY US. And secondly, I got an offer from Colgate as well. But at that moment, I thought that okay, right now it is a good time to transition to product-based companies, as we all know that like product-based companies and as well as with service-based companies, there is a difference between them. So I got a good handhold into service-based companies, but I wanted to explore more into a domain-centric company where how the domain like an FMCG companies work and everything. So I started with Colgate Palmolive as a pure data engineering domain, and in that I was working with I didn't know uh, like Airflow, Terraform, DBT, this kind of tools and techs. So I when I was working, I got a very good learning opportunity to work with them. So like
We'll
Airflow.
take the tools a little bit ahead. Uh, so first coming on to so earlier you were a research analyst,
Yeah.
and since you were doing like a very similar kind of work to a data engineer, so that's why you decided that you should go into a proper data engineer role.
Proper data engineering role. Yes.
So
Yeah.
how was that journey? Like, what all did you need to prepare? How were the interviews?
Okay, sure. So, related to interview questions, majorly questions were related to my Python related projects, and how do scripting languages work? How do you scrape the data and do some pre-processing task? And how do you prepare a very good data so that it is a very good kind of a in a structured data, and you can pull that data into dashboarding, and you can provide reports onto it to sales and marketing domain or data analytics team or data scientist team. It kind of work into that kind of thing. So I was majorly asked mostly Python related questions. So Python related questions can be related to easy to medium level, but I was majorly asked like how do dictionaries and problem solving questions, how do we solve the questions on the lead code level. I started preparing when I got an offer, when I got an interview call with Accenture first, I started with my preparations because I was familiar with Python. So there was like a minimalistic if we can prepare related to like basic problem solving questions related to it, like hacker rank, lead code is fine. Then if someone wants to start at the base level, someone can start with geeks for geeks and as well as W3 schools, and there are tons of resources as well. So I started with hacker rank and lead code mostly, and at the very initial level I started with geeks for geeks. So that was my initial level of starting, and then I started with lead code and everything. And with related to SQL, I started with YouTube and again with HackerRank, because at that moment we were not having this many resources related to SQL. It may be there, but I wasn't knowing mostly related to it. I also didn't know how do window functions work and everything. But I started initially with W3 schools and everything, and with HackerRank solving with problem solving questions. And with my past experience, when I was working with BigQuery, I understood couple of terminologies of aggregate functions and everything, how they work. And yeah, so this kind of things happened with me, and I was good to go. And then this like first so initial level of my interviews were like questions were related to like kind of Python and SQL kind of thing. And a second, and in the if I have cleared first round of interview, in the second round I was asked related to how do cloud technologies work, and how are your experiences related to cloud technologies, how which services have you used. So initially I have started with BigQuery, and then then that moment I started with cloud functions, how do cloud functions work, how do storage function works, and everything related to Google Cloud. So I started with that, and yeah. So this kind of things. So this kind of questions they ask me: how do storage function works in GCS, like in GCP? And initially I started with that particular cloud technology. So I started working with that, and after that, this kind of questions you can how do storage function works? Which kind of file formats have you worked with? And this kind of things. And yeah, so they have asked this kind of questions. And I'm also having experience related to BI tool like Power BI and Data Studio. So they also asked me additional questions. So if you get an opportunity to work as a data analyst, like you have a title known as data engineer, but if sometimes you are given a task to build a ad hoc report, how do that query is performing? So are you good enough to create that kind of report as well? So I was like, it is good enough, okay to me, because I was having that past experience with me. So I was okay to go with that. So yeah, so that was
So
my
Shreya,
yeah.
related to this question, like if you are working with when you are working with as a research analyst, there is a scope of like you can write uh, not a very optimized query, then it also works. But when you move to data engineering, then like mostly it will go directly to the back end. It will their query should be optimized and the code should be optimized. Like how that thing changes in your from research analyst to data engineer role.
Yeah, so I was very writing minimalistic query with
Hmm.
select star like this kind of things. But I was with many I was working with data scientists and some SD for full stack developers, and which were very good with SQL and So they had guided me in the initial level that okay, you can how do aggregate level works. And so also they were the first person to tell me what is vendor functions, to be honest.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so they had guided me that okay, how do backend, like behind the scenes of SQL query, how do you optimize it? So I was initially writing with subqueries. And that moment they gave me that don't use subqueries, because like when you do some execution, this kind of thing, subqueries takes a lot of time to execute, and the results also take a lot of time. So it is better to write window functions, which is much more optimized way,
Hmm.
and then you can get the query. So like with practicing and with real time working within real time like environment, I got an opportunity to like drive myself into like writing a basic query to leveraging that thing to an advanced level.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, got it. Oh yeah, mostly like we usually do when at our initial stage we usually do like joins instead of window function. But like
yeah,
after learning window function, we started using the window function. It is
yeah.
quite easy to use and very fast
Quite
too.
easy to use, and it is also quite handy. So yes, and window
Yeah.
function has its good advantages. So I definitely
Yeah.
agree with your thought as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What is the longest running query you ever wrote, and how long did it run?
Um, so, uh, so basically, the longest query where I was working with basically three related tables. I can't give you much info on that because it is a kind of a confidential thing. But I was working with approximately maybe in 2 GBs of data. It was a long 4 years back, and it took me around 2.5 hours of running of querying. And like basically I was doing some basic joins. And then okay, my senior data scientist guided me, who was sitting in Amsterdam. We had several connects with them. And at that moment I was in my finance semester of my MBA as well. So there were like they guided me that okay, you can use window function, and they had given me a whole document that how do you optimize the query, which where do you need to change it, how do joins also work. So when initially, so if you are working with query joins and everything, you don't necessarily select all the columns. It is better to select a specific column which you want to do analytics on, or which you want to see some data, how that data looks like. It is better to select that particular column instead of looking at all the data. So it is one of the best way to look at your data, and you will get the results in a much faster format. So the longest running query for me, it was 2.5 hours where it was running, and I was constantly monitoring, and it was in the night. And luckily at that moment I was very much lucky that senior data scientist which I was working with was online, and he guided me that okay, that is not a good way to work with. It is better to like you can you if you have a query, you can just schedule that query in BigQuery. You can schedule that query that when you want to schedule it, and you can get the results and you will be notified. We can also include our email ID as well. So like this kind of initially, so like when you start working with, you get to learn different things what are inbuilt in, like what are within it. So it is better to start with something. Don't hesitate to ask questions. I would definitely encourage that. Be transparent with your colleagues, be transparent with your seniors folks and with your peers and everything. It is not a like a hesitant kind of thing, yeah, that you shouldn't ask questions. It is very a good habit that if you ask a very small question as well, it will be a good thing that okay, you are taking an initiative. So in front of them, they will also have that kind of an impression that you are taking initiatives on your hand, that okay, you are asking questions, you are taking a step, okay, that you are trying to understand what is data, what is behind the scenes, and what you are trying to achieve with that data. So yeah, that was my
And a
time.
lot of the times, even they won't know the answers to those small
Yeah,
questions, and even they
yeah.
learn something.
Definitely, yeah. And also they can also learn from their seniors as well. Like I'm working with a lead can ask that kind of questions to a manager or a senior level or a domain or a SE, like an SME kind of like SME, which is a subject matter expert of that particular domain, who is working closely with the business. They can definitely ask the questions to that particular okay, that what is like pricing kind of thing, why pricing column, but what is that column belongs, like what is the pricing data, what that data belongs to, what how the data is coming from, and this kind of questions. So you can definitely ask this kind of questions to your senior folks and your peers. Yeah.
And coming back to your background, so you had a BTech, right? BS.
BSCIT. BSCIT.
Yeah. And then you decided to do an MBA in data
Yeah,
warehousing.
in IT, where I
Right.
was having like MBA IT is a proper degree, which is like which is a symbiosis, which you can get in symbiosis and university. So yeah, and in that we had several specializations. So currently they have 5 to 6 specializations. But when I was doing my MBA in 2018, they had 3 specializations like data warehousing and BI, software process management, which is related to like business analytics and this kind of, which can help you to leverage your domain into business analytics, and this kind of like a scrum master if you want to do, or a project manager, this kind of it can help to. And also, and the third domain was banking and finance, who wants to do special who wants to do their who wants to leverage that domain into like, okay, I want to go into finance domain only. So yeah,
So
that
did
kind.
you decide to do MBA right after your BS, or did you do another job between it?
Yeah, so basically, so coming to my background, so initially when I was doing, I took a sabbatical, basically a break kind of thing, where I was doing my, I wanted to, I wanted to take my break. I wanted to do MBA. And for that, we need to prepare for that. And I prepared for CAT, I prepared for NMAT, and I prepared for SNAP as well. Different MBA, different colleges has their own exams. So I took a year break, and I wanted to perform onto it, and I selected bunch of colleges onto it, and which kind of specialization I wanted to do. And yeah, so in between when I was preparing, I also wanted to do some proper practical working environment kind of thing. So I decided to go with digital marketing. And in that I was doing some SEO, search engine optimization, where websites are built, and behind the scenes that we create a content kind of thing. And we do some so how do Google page search optimization works. So my task was to bring that particular website, that okay, if user is typing a word, let's say laboratory furnitures in Mumbai, so they can just search laboratory furnitures in Mumbai. So what website I was working on should land in first 3 pages of domain, because as a user perspective, user will only go in the first 3 pages of Google, not more than that. So my task was to build on that. So after that, I got a chance also to work with Google Analytics. So at that moment, I was first time introduced to Google Analytics. How do Google Analytics works? How do traffic comes to website? And how do search engine, like if you are working with word, how do that word is playing, where that word is ranking in your Google page, and this kind of things. So at that moment, that was my turning page, that okay, I want to go how do analytics works, which like total number of users, like which kind of metric you can work with, CTR, click through ratio, this kind of thing. So yeah, so this kind of things help me to achieve like, okay, that how do analytics works, and which kind of so I deep dive, I research more and everything. At that moment, I got a term known as like artificial intelligence. And behind the scenes, like what kind of things are there, what technologies you need to learn. And so I started with Java, and then I started to learn Python. And yeah, so that was my uh, overall start of thing. And initially I was also preparing for my MBA for competitive exams for symbiosis, and I cracked multiple MBA related colleges. Like one was IBS Hyderabad, one was Symbiosis, and so because Symbiosis was very closer to my home, I opted to work with Symbiosis, and Symbiosis was one of that particular college at at that particular time in that year to 2018, where it provided MBA in IT. So currently, there are majority of the colleges which are providing MBA in artificial intelligence and MBA in business analytics and everything. But I wanted to do particularly into IT because I did my bachelor's in IT only. So yeah, and in that domain, when I got into that college, uh, three specialization were introduced at in the first semester, and in the second semester you have to select that which specialization you want to select. So I was confused between banking and finance and data warehousing and BI. So I opted for data warehousing and business intelligence. Why? Because because I was very much firm with that, okay, I want to be into technical currently, and after certain years of corporate experience I would go into managerial kind of experience, where I would select a particular domain, and I want to grow into that domain only. So that was my decision that to opt for data warehousing and business intelligence, rather to opt for banking and finance. So yeah.
So, Sushant, you are asking something?
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Sorry, please continue.
Okay. So, do you recommend that everyone does an MBA in like some sort of sort of a tech field before they aim to become a data engineer or in any data role? Or do you think, let's say they do a BS or a BSc or a BTech,
Mm.
or let's say if someone does a BA, right? What do you think? Should they do an MBA? Like who should do an MBA? Who shouldn't do an MBA?
So it is a kind of a own perspective kind of a question, where a person to person perspective differs from, but from coming from my experience, why I wanted to do an MBA instead of like MCA or this kind of things, because I had did my BSAT, and I had an option to either to go for MCA or because Symbiosis in which particular college where I did my MBA, it had an option to go for MCA as well, Masters in Computer Applications, which is a pure IT domain, and you can get minimalistic management experience. But because in a BSc kind of a mindset, I was pretty much in a fresher kind of a mindset that okay, I don't know मुझे क्या करना चाहिए, ये सारे questions के answers you don't have. You have to research on your own. You have to talk to your peers. You have to talk to your seniors and your friends and everything. So it depends on your personal to personal experience and your personal to person perspective, to be honest. But coming from my why I wanted to do an MBA particularly into IT, because I wanted to learn like how do IT works on the management side. So when I got the curriculum, I was pretty much fascinated that in that particular curriculum, they had covered business analytics, which I was very much known. Like I was known to like a 0 to 10% kind of a subject area, because we were doing that kind of things in our BSAT, but certain things I was not known to. How do market optimization works? Like this kind of things, and I also wanted to learn certain financial domains, because my some there I have some certain friends which are from financial domains, and they gave me an kind of a when we were having that kind of conversation, they gave me that okay, if if you have like minimalistic financial domain experience, you can leverage your IT domain, and you can go to financial companies and you can learn from it, right? So this was my kind of experience and my circle kind of thing, which helped me that okay, having a basic experience related to finance, or a basic experience related to HR, you can drive your IT skills, and you can leverage your IT skills, and you can help financial companies as well, because I was only known to TCS, Wipro, Infosys only companies. After having those conversations with my friends and families and with my peers, I got to know there are companies related to JP Morgan, Barclays, and many more companies. Morgan Stanley is also there, Goldman Sachs, and everything. So yeah, so that was my particular domain, my decision that okay, I want to learn different domains as well. Like financial domain, banking is there, accounts are there, like basic fundamental fundamental knowledge, and also I was having IT related experience as well. IT subjects were also there related to Java was there, Python was there, data analytics with Python. There were also subjects related to how do financial analysts works, like this kind of like in our first semester it was a kind of a generic kind of a general kind of a where we were having 18 to 16 subjects, and in that you will be getting several subjects related to management kind of courses, financial accounting, some IT courses as well, some market optimization, some operations related to subjects as well, how do supply chain works and sub domain and this kind of things works. So yeah, getting those experiences and in this kind of things helped me. So that was my decision that okay, I want to learn basic domain experiences, and then I will select that okay, if I want to stick to IT, or if I want to go for finance or HR or supply chain or etc domain. We have tons of domain, or either I want to go for marketing domain. So yeah, so that was my particular decision that I decided okay, I will opt for MBA instead of MCA, where MCA is like a kind of a thing which is strictly related to your IT domain, and after that you can select any of the domains. But I wanted to do management kind of things as well. I wanted to leverage that kind of MBA, management side of IT, how do that thing works, how do business works and everything. So I decided to opt for MBA instead of MCA. And so currently there are my friends, like one of my friend who is working in Maersk, and who is working in different domains. They have only just completed their BTech, and they are working in shipping companies, and they are working fine, and currently they are hopping between the domains like financial domains and shipping companies and this kind of thing. So it is not restricted that you should do your MBA and after that you should decide your domain. It is on your perspective that okay, if you are good with, if you are having, so let's say a person has 3 years of working experience after BTech, and if they want to go to a managerial role, I would definitely encourage that someone will do MBA, either go for a part-time MBA like a executive MBA, or either they can do a full-time MBA and they can again go back to their companies, and they can work with as into managerial domain. So yeah.
Tell me about uh, what does a data engineer actually do?
Um, so basically, when I was working with Colgate, I also worked with FedEx, and currently I'm working with Liberty Mutual Insurance as a data engineer, but into an AVP role. But I started with Colgate as a proper data engineering role, where I was working into migration projects, where we had several like coming to a data engineer proper related to. So basically data engineering works with, like if they have several we can say data sets, and they are having on-prem servers, and they are having loads of data of historical, let's say 25 years of data is there, 10 years of data is there. But currently they want to migrate their data to let's say to cloud, or they want to leverage, currently cloud technologies are emerging, right? So if they want to leverage that kind of things, data engineering can help them to migrate their data from on-prem to cloud, or from different or from, if they want to migrate their data from different clouds like AWS to GCP, or from GCP to AWS, or from GCP to Azure kind of things. So data
Why
engineering
do they do this? Why do they switch cloud providers?
so basically, so when you are working on on-prem, and if you are extracting your data, let's say for 10 years of data, and if you are working on like the server, there is a limitation kind of thing on on-prem. right, on on-premise server. And if there are 10 users working onto it, there will be a kind of a situation where all the at a same time 10 users are working, all the load will come onto that particular server, right? So how to and at that moment there can be a situation where server will not perform properly. The query which you are writing, or you are if you are trying to fetch certain results, will not perform to the mark at which should be performing, right? So there would be kind of a situation where you need to restart your processes, everything, and you need to rewrite your queries and everything. And there I have faced this kind of situation where I want to restart the laptop, and then I am restarting the all the services again, and I am extracting the data. So in this particular situation, clouds come to your best good advantage kind of thing, where they help you to, okay, that if you have you can cloud basically works that has a they kind of have a kind of a pay as you go subscription, that okay, which services you are using, you will get only that, but you will pay for only that particular services. You're not paying for everything. So so maintenance is quite high on prem, and on the on cloud the maintenance is quite low, right? And so this is like a kind of a difference between on prem and cloud and everything. And on when you are working on cloud, it will take only a few seconds to retrieve the data. But there are situations where I was giving a situation where I was working with 2.5, where I was dealing with 2.5 hours of query. You need to write in a proper like a kind of a optimized format, that okay, you are writing a query, you are retrieving the data. So there are things where you need to be very much you need to be focused, that what you are trying to achieve. You need to also understand that okay, why that query has been given to me, what is that query trying to achieve, what will they help us, what will they help the business, this kind of things. So you need to be very much be assured that okay, why I am working on what. So yeah, so this kind of thing. And so basically data engineers, to be honest, in a nutshell, if I want to answer your questions, like data engineers, they help them to design, they help them to like construct, do some of the testing, and build the architecture on the large scale, and to process and manage the data, and in a very scalable format. And they help them to like load the data into several data warehouses. And on that, data scientists, data analytics, several analytics, and this kind of folks can leverage that data and build reports onto it, do some analytical work, do some predictive forecasting work onto them, like how do data scientists work. And rest is the history, like this is kind of thing.
Do companies also switch between cloud providers?
Um, so coming to my experience, so I was working with Azure only, Azure in FedEx. Currently, I'm working with AWS, and when I started with GCP. So, but current to my experience, there are companies who are switching between AWS to cloud, AWS to Azure, and everything. I like in LinkedIn we can find articles and everything, but to my experience, I have never come to a situation that okay, companies are switching between one cloud provider to another cloud provider. Yeah, there are companies like service-based companies do have that kind of projects where companies want to switch between Azure to AWS or AWS to GCP, and
Um,
Yeah, so
like regarding the data pipeline thing, like how do you like make sure that the pipeline is working fine? Like, is there any particular checks you use to make sure that the data is flowing correctly or not? Let's say you have you have built a pipeline. You
right.
want to make sure that this pipeline run every day fine. Like there should not be any anomalies or something like that. How you maintain that?
Right. So to answer this question, it is a very good question actually. So whenever we are building a pipeline, so we have different environments like dev, test, and development, testing, and production. right? So in the development side, you can do a kind of a minimalistic small checks, like firstly, when the data is extracting, it should be in a staging format, right? And from staging format, it should be into how the data is coming, how the data is extracted. So at that particular format, you should be answering certain questions, like is the data coming monthly, or the data is the live kind of real time data, if we say. And if the data is coming like a historical load, if you can say monthly data is coming, so on what particular date the data would be landing into a bucket or a GCS bucket or a database, or what kind of data should be coming. Data sources also matter. Like we have flat files data sources, we have different types of sources of data available, right? So we should be pretty much aware that what kind of data is coming, where, and some basic data learning, that okay, what kind of data is available beneath the data which you are migrating to a database, or to like you are scraping the data. You should be having little bit knowledge. It is good to have. It is like one should be known. Like, coming to my experience, that when I was working to data, I used to do some basic Excel kind of a thing, that okay, I have what kind of data is there, what data is coming, what which data, which data would be static, that this data would be coming as it is only, this data would be changing, like this type of questions, right? And how the data would be coming to the staging level. And from then, which particular columns do we need to transform, like a simple way, that okay, there are system generated flat files are coming to your bucket at every 15th of your month. That okay, so system generated data can have multiple things, that there are white spaces are there, there are certain punctuations are there, and you need to remove it, right? So you can make sure that you are removing it. And so this kind of checks, data quality checks, you should be taking care of whenever the data is like kind of like whenever the data is in the transformation stage. At that particular stage, the data should be moving to whenever the data is loading, data quality check should be there. And after that, whenever the data should be properly loaded, I was also given a task that whenever the data is properly loaded at a monthly level, you should be getting an email notified, like an email kind of thing. So when I was building this project, when I was building this pipeline, I was building that particular pipeline in Airflow. So we have that kind of checks. And whenever the data is transforming, we should be also taking at a look at it, that okay, how the data is looking. Okay, so we should be having a thorough conversation with our project managers, with our leads. However, whenever we are building pipelines, so small minimal checks, that okay, that if sometimes there are situations where the data is not coming properly. So we should be asking those questions, that okay, if there is any situation when okay, this data would be not coming, if there is any public holidays or this kind of situations will also come, right? So it is a but natural thing, the data would be not coming from that particular source. So we should be okay that so the next pipeline would start with from 17th or 18th. So this small basic quality checks, and to answer this question, so you should be taking care of this particular questions. Yeah, and you should be asking those questions at a very initial level only, so to prevent so after that, whenever you are built, you should not be to in a situation that okay, uh, okay, 15 को मेरा 15 को मेरा डेटा नहीं आएगा, 17 को मेरा डेटा आएगा. तो आपको वो हिसाब से you should be known to this question. So initially it is very habitual that to answer those questions. If someone is fresher and who is starting this question, who is starting their journey into data engineering, it is but natural that this particular question will not come. But at least make a try that whenever you are studying your data, you should be asking what is the cadence of the data, at what particular time you want to migrate your data, or like basically what kind of pipelines you are building, and how do you optimize your code. Initially, whenever you are doing at a development state, it is a very good practice that you are writing down your each and every like you're dry running it, your pipeline, everything. everything. But whenever you are doing your UAT, like a user acceptance testing, and you are giving that pipeline testing to your project managers, to your leads and everything, you should be like at a situation that okay, if someone is at certain particular stage that okay, pipeline is not working well, you should be getting a notified that okay, that particular stage the pipeline is not working. And whenever you are working with a bulk of data, it is a good practice to compress that data and then load the data into a target data source or the destination. So these are the small practice tests you should be taking care of. There are other quality checks as well. We should be taking like silo testing is there, and everything is there. But we can have a detailed conversation. If someone wants to do it, we can have. I am very much happy to answer those particular questions as well. Yeah.
So one other thing is like mostly for the freshers mostly CSV is a very common format. Like what
Yeah.
other format you will suggest to use it for the large data storage and even for the like doing some analysis over the Python. Like I think Parquet is one of the
Parquet is
like
one of them.
popular
JSON
format.
is also one of them. So I
Uh,
was working with flat files only. I started while I started my working experience with flat files, and then I was given like I was when I was working with Colgate, even in FedEx and this kind of FedEx, I was working with pure databases and everything. But when I started, I was working with CSV, Excel, and JSON format, and then I converted, like I compressed everything, all the data into Parquet format, and then loaded into Snowflake. But it is a good practice that you should be working with different sources, because CSV is good compatibility when you are working with pandas. But when working with JSON has its own data structure. It has its own structure and everything. So you should be using how to JSON for file formatting works. You need to flatten. You need to do some flattenizing of JSON files and everything. So yeah, so JSON is also one of them. Avro is one of them. So yeah,
hmm.
these are
Also,
particularly
you are talking about JSON, so mostly there's a SQL and NoSQL databases.
yeah,
Like how it
it is.
impact, like it is useful and when we should use it. Then.
So to be honest, I have worked with SQL databases only. I have not worked with NoSQL databases, so I would be not be a person to answer that question. But if someone wants to start, one should definitely start with MongoDB, as it is a NoSQL databases, and MongoDB it is a quite handy a database if someone wants to start no into NoSQL databases. So yeah. And
Got
secondly, there are Redis, Cassandra is one of them.
it.
And yeah, so
Got it.
yeah.
I think
Ashit?
it was I think 2 years ago when I learned NoSQL means not only SQL and not actually NoSQL. Yeah.
Okay. So I
Uh,
also learned during my when I was working with Mobiquity, I also got an knowledge that okay, the difference between NoSQL and SQL database. And at that moment only I heard MongoDB, because full stack developers were working onto MongoDB, and I was working on BigQuery only. But at that moment they introduced me, okay, what is MongoDB? And then I came to know that the UI and the icon, which is in green and everything. And yeah. So in that moment, I would definitely. But right now, we have tons of YouTube resources and everything. If someone wants to learn, I have resources kind of thing where someone wants to start with NoSQL database. I can provide you the links and everything, the resources and everything.
we'll
Yeah,
put that in the description.
yeah.
And do you take interviews currently in your current role?
So I have not taken any interviews in my current role, but previously I did like I worked with interns and everything. I took some interviews and everything. I like when I was working in Colgate, I was given a chance that to work with interns, how do interns works and everything. So I provided my knowledge to them. I provided knowledge transfer sessions to them, and also took their particularly small interviews that like related to Python questions, SQL kind of questions. And because currently colleges are also telling that to learn to boost, like they are giving a kind of a boosting experience to learn cloud. because there are colleges that who are partnering with Amazon, and they are who are and providing like student learning platform. Like AWS has its own learning platform for students. If someone wants to learn machine learning, like data engineering and everything, and even so colleges are doing so. I was asking them questions related to Python, SQL is a kind of that's a question would come definitely if you want to, if you are in a data field. Either like it can, if you are working with different hats of data, like data analytics, data scientist, or a BI engineer, or a machine learning engineer, one would definitely ask questions related to SQL. At least basic questions like how do aggregate question works, how do aggregate function works, how do window functions work, how do behind the scenes, like what is the flow of what is the execution of a query, how do execution of a query starts, like which particular keyword is from you should be using. So to answer that questions, one should at least on a fresher level, uh, you should be knowing this question, and after that only you can work with you can understand the SQL query and everything. And what particularly there is normalization question, types of questions I would ask, and uh, there are questions related to it. So yeah, I would, if someone wants to so I do take interviews, mock interviews and everything with interns and every, if they wants to start, I can help them to get started with the Python and SQL and this kind of things, because I started with pandas, and after that I started with oops and everything, like object oriented programming and everything. So I would definitely urge, like I would definitely encourage everyone that at least learn some basics of oops and file processing, like different, because you never know what kind of file format you will be working with. So it is better to at least have basic knowledge that okay, which file format uh is good with. So to have that kind of or to answer that particular questions. So I would definitely tell someone that okay, you should be learning CSV. For CSV is pretty much common right now, so one should definitely learn JSON. Parquet is also one of them, because when I was interviewing with one of the companies, I was asked this question: what is the difference between CSV file format and a JSON file format and a Parquet file format? So one should be definitely knowing this file formats and working with them. At least do some research onto it, basic research. It would be definitely will be a turnaround for your interviews and everything. So yeah.
Is DSA asked to data engineers?
DSA is definitely a. So when I was interviewing with Salesforce, I was rejected because I when I went to the fifth round, I was in my second or third round where they asked me to do some backtracking related questions onto it, and so DSA is definitely asked whenever you are working with let's say FANG company, Salesforce is there, Google is there. Microsoft is there, Twilio is there, this kind of companies is there. You should one should definitely learn DSA. And but you are when you are working with uh, let's say JP Morgan is there. When I was interviewed with JP Morgan, um, I was not asked DSA, but I was definitely asked problem solving questions, which you should be thorough with. At least arrays, strings are there, this kind of thing. So not DSA, but at least problem solving question you should be thorough with. So not DSA. So whenever we are talking with DSA for data engineers, it is not that at that level when at with software development where it should be good with easy, medium, hard level. But for data engineers, it is like at easy to medium level. So I would be going with easy to medium level, not going with hard level. So if someone wants to start with data structure, I would urge them to at least go with stacks stacks and queues and this kind of data structures. Sorting techniques is there. Linked list is somewhat asked. I was not asked linked list. I was asked related to backtracking. Competitive like DP is very rarely asked with my experience. But if someone is targeting product based companies, like Goldman Sachs is a kind of an investment based banking companies. But if someone wants to go for data engineering with that at that level, and with someone wants to go, definitely I would suggest them to go with DSA. start working with. But firstly, for that, you should be thorough with the basics or the foundations, the file like the looping things, how to for loop, while loop, and this kind of things, how to basic, at least the foundations of Python. And then you can start with file oops. And then if someone wants to do, you can work with DS and also with this kind of things. Yeah.
Got it. So
Yeah.
let's say someone is trying to, so you already talked about like how can a fresher get into data engineering, right? Like what all they need to learn.
So coming to college, so to answer this question, I would so one should start with at least one programming language. They can opt for Java, Scala, or let's say Python. Python, which is pretty much straightforward scripting language. One should, like, from my experience, one should there are companies working with Java and Python both. But if someone wants to start, someone can start with Python, easy, which is very easy centric. It's easy centric programming language. And second, they should be good with at least basics of SQL. And then after coming to company, you can learn how to optimize it and everything. But currently there are in YouTube you can find tons of resources related to how do you optimize the query and everything. But one should definitely start with like CRUD operations, DDL, TML, like this kind of DCL, what is commit, what is rollback, triggers, and aggregate functions, then with window functions. And also they can, if they have time, they can start with normalization as well. They can also start with triggers, sorry, stored procedures as well, if they want to learn, because there are companies who are having stored procedures and they are working with them. Stored procedures are not asked in interview, but if someone is having no knowledge as a fresher, it would be at an edge over kind of thing. Third, they can also learn like Spark kind of, if someone as a fresher wants, if have is having a good, at least they are thorough with Python, I would definitely encourage them to learn Spark. Because as we are dealing with currently TBs of data, GBs of data, Spark can help you to leverage your optimization. Because when you are dealing with Python pandas, it will take around 10 minutes to get the data. But when you are coming with Spark, you can get into like into seconds. So one should, as a fresher, you should definitely learn Spark. Third, if they want to learn, they can definitely learn a cloud technologies, which will be an edge over. And some basis of Hadoop will also help them to differentiate, because there are companies who are asking the difference between MapReduce and Spark. So one should definitely learn at least basics of Hadoop, MapReduce, and this kind of things. When do Spark came and everything. And after that, cloud technology. Any cloud technologies will help, like AWS, GCP, Azure. Currently, as a fresher level, people are starting to start with Azure. So definitely Azure is also there, but it is dependent on the own perspective. I would urge you to that to start on that particular level. And third, as you want, as currently we are building pipelines and everything, right? So there are companies who are working with different cloud providers, but they are not using everything into cloud. They are only using some part of that particular cloud service of cloud, right? Like GCS. Only they are using that. They are only using a Redshift. They are not using everything of the AWS, not Glue, right? So someone can learn Airflow as well. Airflow is a very is an orchestration tool. It is a, we can learn within, like in YouTube there are certain channels where you can learn within like 15 or within a month they can start with that. And Udemy courses are also available. And after that they can start with Snowflake. Snowflake is a currently warehouse database or a data warehouse where currently companies are migrating their data, right? So Snowflake is also one of them. Databricks is also there. So if I can provide the whole which I provide, which from where I started learning the data engineering and everything, I can provide that particular resource and everything. Like I have provided, like I not I have provided, but I have created for myself for my references. I can provide you the whole Word doc, and you can provide that particular thing to your uh, uh, viewers and everyone. So definitely I would provide that Word doc and everything. So yeah. So
Also, like before getting your interview, first you have to get your resume shortlisted, right?
yes, ATS
What
friendly.
what kind of resumes get shortlisted for data engineering?
So coming when I was given a chance to select resumes and everything. So when I was looking into a resume, as a fresher level, if what I would suggest, you should be looking at so it should not be, it should be at least one page, and it should not extend more than one page. At a fresher level, you should not have a personal photo and everything. Currently, there were time that personal photo used to there and everything, but I would definitely suggest that you should have your just your name, just your LinkedIn profile page, and your personal projects where you have graduated, you will be graduating, your passing year, and some skills which you have worked with. If someone is into data engineering, I would definitely ask them that okay, Python is there, SQL is there, some data visualization tool if they have worked with, what kind of projects they have worked with, if they have cracked any let's say hackathon and everything, what kind of hackathon they have, because there are companies who are so let's say currently I saw a note where Flipkart is working with some kind of a hackathon kind of thing. There are companies who provide hackathons and everything. So if they have cleared certain hackathon, I would definitely ask questions related to it. But it should, for a fresher level, it should not you should be focusing on your projects and your skills mostly. I would definitely look into, it should not be a fancy kind of thing. Only a one pager resume would work, but it should be a crisp pointer should be there. And when you are describing your project, you should be in a star format. Star format like situation, task, T for task, A for action, R for results. So you can grab the data, you can you look at Indeed precisely for star related template and everything. There are Novo resume which help you to do, but I would definitely help them that okay, you should be googling that, okay, you should be thorough with what particular role you are developing it into, and you should be also taking references of past resumes. There are resumes available in Google and everything. So you should you should definitely take that kind of help of Google, that okay, how resumes are built. And it should be at least ATS friendly. So ATS stands for applicant tracking system. So currently recruiters only have 6 to 7 seconds. They will not look at your everything. So if you are worked with, if proper word has been captured that particular ATS, your resume would be handled. But that particular so if I am hiring for, let's say, Azure data engineer, right, I would definitely look at Azure Data Factory, I would definitely look at Spark, ADLS, then Azure Databricks, let's say Python is there, SQL is there. It is a kind of a base. So this kind of keyword should be there. If you have like past experience related to 2 years of data, 2 years of into data engineering and everything, you should be having a dedicated section that okay, which key skill set you have worked into, like programming languages, cloud related technologies, file formats which you have worked with. Let's say if you have worked with any DevOps tools, right? Because I have worked with one DevOps tools like Docker and Terraform. So if you have worked with that, it will be you should mentioning that, you should mention that. If you have worked with, let's say, visualization tool, you should also mention that. So there should be a dedicated section also for that particular resume thing. And also projects which I mentioned, that it should be in a star format. But when you have because if you have 2 years or 3 years of experience, one should one should be only having 1 to 1.5 page of uh, resume, not more than that, not more than that. For my for my particular 4 years of experience, I only have 1.5 page of resume, not 3 or 4 pages of resume. So definitely one should be sticking to that particular. But if you have 3 page of resume, I would ask them to cut make a cut short of their resume and make it into 1 to 1.5 page resume. Yeah.
And uh, do you also help people uh, get into data engineering? Do you have a top line?
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I have a topmate. I have helped, not as I'm not very much active on topmate. I have a topmate page, and I if someone wants to do, they can just like ask, okay, they can just book my page, and I can help them to work with what tech stack they want to work into and get into data engineering. Like I have helped freshers, and also like I can have a mock session with them for interviews. I also take learning from them. I also provide them that, okay, how do resume look like if I am an interviewer, and if I want to shortlist your resume, what I would look at into your resume. And so I would first ask them their journey, what they are good at, what they want to add it into your resume. I would suggest my feedback as well. And if they are good with, I can go with any like I would review any resume. I can provide my suggestions. They can make them. I can provide my top mate to you, and you can add it. It
Yeah,
is, I'm not pretty much active on, if someone wants to uh help, if someone wants to, definitely, if someone wants to get in touch with me into your for any data engineering guidance related to it, I'm feel free to just join. I can provide my LinkedIn page. I'm actively available on LinkedIn, and actively available on email conversation as well, but I'm very much less active on topmate. So but I will try to be very much engaging on topmate as well. If someone wants to do, definitely, please go ahead. Yeah,
we'll add your topmate link in the description as
definitely.
well.
And
And
definitely,
we'll also get you added to our data community.
definitely.
Uh, okay.
Yeah, if someone wants to like help get into, like, there are, how they want to help, let's say they want to get started with projects, which technology they can start with. If they from my particular experience, I can guide them and everything. And if they have something new into their mind, I can learn from them as well. Because freshers, as a they are a very curious person. They have so many questions. So to answer that questions, you can learn new things from them as well. Because there are technologies which are getting started. Because I in between I got thing I got a query from LinkedIn that what is DBT? Have you worked with DBT? So because I have worked with some part of DBT. So DBT is a kind of a database transformation tool for SQL, like which can help to like, if you know SQL, you can work with DBT. So it is a kind of that someone wants to write queries. It is a database tool, and you can do some lineage between the tables. It is a good UI and everything. So yeah, I have not very well like depth, like I don't have a very depth experience into DBT, but I have basic experience of DBT where I was helping my project partners, business analyst person, to leverage that particular query to Airflow. So at that moment, I got a chance to work with DBT. That's it, because that query was failing. So yeah.
Also, like you
For
talked about
help with.
projects, right?
Yeah.
So, are there any data engineering projects which a fresher can have?
When can you repeat?
So, can a fresher do any particular projects, some kind of projects which can help him get into data engineering?
Yeah. So in YouTube currently you can find tons of data. So earlier when I started, there were no projects related to data engineering. I only knew what is data engineering for only one word, ETL, which is like extract, transform and load. That's it. Extract the data, transform करो, load करो, और वो use करेगा data analyst और scientist. उससे ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं. But when I started into data engineering, there then I got new terminologies like ELT. Reverse ETL is also there. So ELT stands for extract, load, and then transform. So if someone wants to start fresher, YouTube has many tons of projects. They can initially also start. They can find a they can fetch the data from API. Any API is there. Yahoo ticker stocks related data we have, right, in Kaggle and everything. They can scrape the data. They can do some basic cleaning of data, and then load that data into SQLite. We have that kind of SQLite libraries in our Python. We can load that data. So initially you have created a minimal project for yourself, and you can leverage that into so Airflow you can definitely learn, which I mentioned. Why I was emphasizing on Airflow, because Airflow is an open source platform. You can just YouTube has a very good feature. You can just download it on a platform and you can transform that data into your ETL kind of a pipelining tool, and you can learn one open source platform which is Apache Airflow, and you can create a kind of a pipeline and you will be good to go. If you were earlier using let's say SQLite, now you should be loading that data into, let's say, BigQuery, let's say Postgres, or let's say any MySQL server if you want to load, right? So
Got it.
definitely one should try with that particular small minimalistic ETL project. And after that, you can start with cloud projects and everything. There are so in YouTube, when currently also for my particular learning, because right now we can say that real time data processing is coming in data engineering domain, where companies are having real time data and they want to like transform real time data. Like we have real time data like Netflix is there, Hotstar is there, Disney Hotstar, where cricket
What's
matches
the,
were on.
is there a difference between real time and streaming?
Yeah, so basically, so real time streaming is particular in, like, it can be different, but for coming from my knowledge, real time data is like whenever a live data is streaming, let's say cricket match is going on, live runs are getting captured into your system, and there are teams who are dashboarding, right, live doing some live providing live reporting, that okay, what could be the forecast for the next innings, right? So for that, companies leverage Kafka, which is one of the very much used. So I do take help of Udemy, I do take help of YouTube very much, because currently in data, we are working into data engineering, you should be asking this question, that will it be a streaming data or it will be a historical data, right? So whenever you are, so currently there are companies who are working with Netflix is there, Disney Hotstar is there, there would be many other companies as well, but to my knowledge, these two companies are like, we do know Disney Hotstar, right? And we know that नेक्स्ट इनिंग्स में कितना स्कोर होगा, स्कोर प्रिडिक्टर होता है एंड एवरीथिंग होता है, तो वो कैसे यूज करते हैं, वो लोग काफका यूज करते हैं, लाइक वो लोग एडब्ल्यूएस के काफी सर्विसेज किनेसिस यूज करते हैं, देर आर सर्विसेज लाइक दैट, आई एम ऑल्सो लर्निंग. सो व्हेन आई वाज लर्निंग, I learned from one of the courses of Udemy, Kafka. I am still learning, it has not completed yet, but I'm so Kafka is one of the real-time data which can help you to leverage real-time data streaming data to your data sources, like target data source, and you can build live data, you can build live reports onto it. So yeah, live data is in like real time data processing is going on. Real time data is coming from your source and you are transforming it onto a real time. You can build pipeline onto it. Like Kafka is one of them. Kinesis is there. I'm not able to recall currently which services is there, but I know this two services only, Kafka and Kinesis, AWS Kinesis, and you can load that data. Live data is coming, and live data you have to monitor, pipeline you have to monitor, you need to take care of the data qualities and everything, and companies are going forward to it, and you can load that data and you can do some data analytics onto it, and also you can do forecasting also, live forecasting, machine learning predictors are there and everything. So yeah.
Since we were talking about the projects, right? You had an
Yeah.
architecture diagram to show, right? So let's see that.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm not allowed to share my screen.
Try again. Yeah.
Am I
Yes. Yes.
is it visible, right?
Yeah.
So this is a kind of a diagram. So if someone wants to, this particular diagram, if someone wants to see, right? So this diagram is a kind of an ETL kind of a project thing, where I had several data sources like flat files and JSON kind of JSON data sources in our GCS bucket, and someone wants to transform, you can use pandas, you can use PySpark, and but I was using Python at that particular time, and I was loading that particular data into Snowflake, and analytics team would build that data, would build reports onto Domo, on Domo datasets. But here you can see one of the icon known as, this is Terraform. So this Terraform precisely, I was working while building the infrastructure of the data. When we are creating tables, right? There are companies would ask you to create tables, right? When you can use like a create table and everything, but I was given a task that to build tables using Terraform, right? And users and some resources related to it, like how do we create EC2 instance, you can create that particular instance and everything using Terraform. So I did learn when I was working onto one of the projects, but I this tool is a kind of a, is a very like not an easy, but one should definitely learn Terraform. If someone wants to go into data ops also is a kind of a new role, which is emerging, where someone can learn Docker, Kubernetes, some part of DevOps, but they can work with data as well. And I had built this pipeline using Airflow. So this is a kind of a minimalistic kind of a ETL architecture which I used during my projects, and this is the kind of a uh, target data source where I was migrating the data from like putting the data from target data source, which is GCS. I was working with batch processing, which I mentioned, historical load, where I was getting the data on the monthly basis, and my task was to provide the data to the analytics team on a monthly basis on from to that they can build the data, that they can build dashboards on Domo. And from my particular perspective, I was given a task to build the pipelines from GCS to Snowflake, to migrate that data from GCS to Snowflake as a target data source from using Airflow. As I mentioned that I was not using each and every services of
What
cloud.
does what does
Sorry.
Airflow do?
So Airflow is an orchestration tool where you can build a kind of a workflow kind of thing, where you can break down your task, that extraction is one of the tasks. If this task is successfully completed, it can turn green. And whenever the task is failed, you can get that into red kind of thing. And after that, if this task is successfully completed, it will go to transform, and simultaneously it will go to load, and it will load the data into Snowflake.
Like a
This is
pipeline, right?
kind of a pipeline, and it is an orchestration tool where you don't have to continuously monitor your pipeline. If the task will fail, Airflow has that kind of a capability where there are operators known as email operator. We can set an email operator to your email ID and your subsequent peers, that which task went fail, or which task was not particularly working fine. So yeah, so basically you can monitor which you can get notified that your task was successfully completed, or you had failures in your task and everything. So yeah, so this was like kind of a pipeline which I had worked on to. And yeah, and also I was working with Terraform.
Got it. You can
Yeah.
stop sharing now. Uh, I think we are towards the end of the podcast now. So
Yeah.
one question was, since you work in the insurance domain, do you think there are some fundamental differences in this domain versus other domains, since you have worked in many domains now?
um So insurance domain. So I was having some basic experience of insurance when I was working with into service based company, because in service based you have that kind of advantage that you can work with different domains. As you grow, you get different projects of different domains. You are not stick to one particular domain. But I was giving a task that you need to compare five companies of US, and which companies is performing well. You need to prepare reports onto it on different features of apps. So because I was not at that particular time I was not known to different companies. I did some basic research that what is insurance basically. I was known to the term, but what do how do policies work, how do coverage work, how do claims and everything works. So I did some basic research onto it. Basic research is more than enough to get into any kind of domain. If you are interviewing for, let's say, a finance domain, what position are you giving interview, for which team are you giving interview? I would highly recommend to do some basic research. Ask that which team are you getting hired for or getting interviewed for. Ask this question to to the recruiters and everything. Do some basic research for that particular company, what that particular company is coming to, which domain, for from which particular domain. In like, I am currently working with Liberty Mutual Insurance, but there is another general insurance as well, right? I'm working on a global side, so I did some basic research that okay, what how do insurance company work, right? Because I was getting hired for an AVP role, uh and I did a very in-depth research that what kind of insurance, how do like companies provide insurance, what types of insurance are there, like we have life insurance, health insurance, accidental insurance, like this kind of things, like basic research and in-depth research. If you are going for a managerial role or a higher role as an AVP or this kind of thing, it would definitely help. But as a at a fresher level, do some basic research. It would help you to groom faster, and also in front of you, the interviewer, it would make an impression that you have did some basic research. You're not going like a blank minded, and I don't know that what are you coming from, uh, what products are you working for, like this kind of things. Should have, like, you should do some basic research. So coming to my your question that I did, what is the difference between them? There is a huge difference between them because I started with FMCG. When I transitioned from service based to product based, I started with FMCG with Colgate. I did again at a Colgate. We know Colgate is a toothpaste company, but also we have a Colgate Palmolive. What is Palmolive? What do Palmolive as a company have their products, right? Secondly, I switched to FedEx. FedEx is a company, we all know it is a courier company, but courier company, in also we have different segments, right? International courier, local courier is also there. Which companies, like which countries FedEx is working on. um FedEx also has like Express is there. Like this kind of you can find this kind of everything into their homepage. And after coming to insurance domain, there is again a difference between uh insurance domain and shipping companies. So it is a kind of a sky and, we can say, night and dark difference between each and every domain. So one should definitely research and then get into any domain. Yeah.
Were you picky about the domain initially? Like, this is the domain I want
No,
to get into. No?
no. I was never a picky that okay, I want to work with finance domain only. Because when you are picky, you stick to that particular domain, and you are not like you are not diversified that okay, I can try particularly that domain as well. You should be keeping your mind every time open that some domain can help me to leverage, like, to that particular domain as well. So let's say I am currently working as a data engineer. Going forward, if I want to go to an actuary, which is into insurance domain, right? How do actuaries work? I can go easily currently because I'm learning into insurance domain and everything, right? If I want to see that okay, I want to be a product owner, if I have that basic experience, that you should, like, if I have that basic experience of that particular diverse domains, it would help you. That okay, I have right now FMCG experience, I can go to any FMCG company as well because I did my past experience, right? So you should keep every time your mind open that okay, if I am given any domain, just go into it. If you fail, it will be a different experience, but it will be a kind of a learning experience. Because right now, initially in your 5 years, just keep your mind in everything open, whatever coming, accept it and just go with the flow. That's it. And accept it. after you will after having like after 5 years or 10 years or 8 years of your experience, you will be at that particular stage that okay, I am good with let's say finance domain, I am good with banking domain, I am good with insurance domain, and I will go in that particular companies only. I would go in that particular cycle only. I would not go for FMCG and shipping or logistics based company, right? So this kind of thing. If someone wants to stick to, let's say, IT domain only, but they can switch between the companies. Like they can switch from finance to logistics, from logistics to any FANG based companies, product based companies like Google, Microsoft, Alphabet, or Salesforce, this kind of companies. So yeah, you should like I would encourage everyone to keep their minds open, diversify, accept the domain, learn basic domains, learn the data beneath beneath the domain and everything, and just go with the flow. That's it, and you will be good enough.
Got it.
With everything.
Since you worked in like 3-4 domains, right?
Yeah.
Would you like to share your salary progression since the beginning?
Yeah, so I started with a service-based company and I had one of the offers, but it got revoked because of COVID and everything, because I was graduated in 2020. But I started with let's say a very, very basic role with 2 to 3 lakhs. I started with that. And I was giving a salary of, you can say, you can just imagine like the compensation and everything. And after that, I switched to data engineering data engineering with Colgate. Colgate as a first company, they had offered me like I was giving a like 100% hike, we can say, and so they had given me a composition between 8 to 10, and after coming to FedEx, they had also given me very good compensation between 14 to 18 lakhs. And after that, after right now, I'm at an in an insurance domain. They had given me an compensation between 20 to 25 lakhs. So yeah, that is my overall progression.
I think it checks out as well because uh, the domains where money is actually there, they pay more, right?
Yeah,
Finance
yeah.
always pays more.
Finance always pays more. Like there are IT based companies as well. Like Google is also there, AWS, like Amazon is also there, which pays you accordingly. But they ask you that what kind of what is your experience, right? So based on your experience, you are getting also paid. So experience also comes to the picture, that what kind of experience are you bringing to the table and everything, to the team and everything. If you are driving a whole team, leadership skills are also there, communication skills are also there. Coming with tech, you should be also known to the soft skills, like presentation skills are there, communication skills are there. How do you talk to your peers, how do you talk to your freshers, and how do you deal with your superiors and everything. So this kind of experience also plays a very crucial role when you are different dealing with different domains, where you are switching between the companies and everything. Yeah.
Final question.
Yeah.
Would you recommend any particular resources or any creators to follow for people who are in data engineering or want to get into data engineering or are simply interested in data engineering?
So if someone wants to get started with Python, so Python, we can have, so they can start with any particular resources. So Code with Harry is there. There are another domain like Zach Wilson is also one of the greatest data engineering mentor. Zach Wilson is there. Shashank Mishra is there. You can get started with Sagar Prajapati. If at an initial level, if someone wants to learn Azure, Sagar Prajapati is one of the good. Like I did one of the course with him for my Azure cloud learning. I did from Udemy as well, but I did one of the certification course as well, which was required for my learning. I did some basic learning from them, and Sagar Prajapati. But if someone wants to get started, SQL, Ankit Bansal is there. TechFQ is Square. TechFQ, TechFQ is there, and yeah, so for SQL, this particular resources are there. Yeah.
Got it. All right. So thanks, Shreya.
And any,
Yeah.
yeah, for any cloud, we can get started with so for GCP we can get started with their own. We can have that their own we have their own YouTube channels as well. And if they want to work with labs, like I started with quick labs. Google has their quick labs kind of thing where someone can work with their services if they want to have the practical experience. So yeah.
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Shreya, for
Thank you.
taking out the time and
Thank you.
first. Any last words?
So I'm good.
Prashant, any last words? Hello,
Hello.
Prashant?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah. Any
No,
last
no,
words? No? Okay.
no. It's like it's really nice to talk to you.
Thank
Like,
you.
Okay.
oh,